Spring 2008 on TSN is brought to you by the new Q horsepower from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.
You know, we just completed our 20th season on TSN, and believe me, none of us ever take for granted the fact that we get to drive all the new models every year. And you know, one of my favorite times of the year is when all the brand new cars and trucks are brought to one location, and then auto journalists from across the country converge with one goal in mind to pick the best of the bunch. It's called the AJAC Test Fest. AJAC, an acronym for Automobile Journalists Association of Canada. Well, this year they had more cars and trucks than ever, and also a new location. The Niagara District Airport in Niagara-on-the-Lake has had some special guests over the years, like a Canadian Armed Forces F-18 and the Snowbirds. But lately, it's becoming a hotspot for cars and the new home for the AJAC Test Fest.
We've had a lot of activity in 2007 here at the Niagara Drive Centre. As of June 1st this year, we did more business than we did all of 2006. Niagara Drive Centre has 364 acres, 1 million square feet of asphalt, a 5,000-foot runway that's 150 feet wide. In fact, we've seen over 260 kilometers an hour. In a couple of cars out on the runways. So we have the ability to close the runways down and do automotive events. And it's a great source of income not only to the airport, but significant income, particularly this event, AJAC's Test Fest, to the entire community. I think it's a very fair comparison. They get to drive the cars on some really awesome roads in the area and then test them. And one of the nice things about the Drive Centre is there's absolutely nothing to hit. There's no guardrails anywhere, there's no rocks or no ditches because the grass is manicured on each side of all the runways. So if you happen to slide off the road, you're just going to slide off into the grass. So I think that's a big benefit to the manufacturers as well.
The very first time I came, my first event, I came up and I saw all the cars lined up and I just thought, oh my God. It was a dream. I phoned home, I said, somebody pinch me, because it was an opportunity to drive all kinds of things that I'd been wanting to drive and just had a great time.
Well, this is actually the 20th anniversary of the Canadian Car of the Year. And it's grown from about 4 or 5 cars with 4 or 5 guys getting around a bar and thinking, geez, we should try these things back to back tomorrow when things are sober and having a good time. And from that, it has grown rather monumentally to where we have approximately 185 cars here today in 13 categories, and it's going to take 4 days and 74 people with a minimum of 30 minutes each in each vehicle to test them all. To be eligible to vote, you must be someone who regularly road tests automobiles. And by regularly, we're going to say more than 30 a year, and reported on it in a recognized media outlet, television, radio, magazine, print. Now, having done that, you must have done it for more than 1 year. This is a huge responsibility for AJAC, for us managing the event, because it's grown to the stage. The significance is really, it's huge. So that responsibility rests on our shoulders. It's a large budget we have to manage, we have to report on it, we have to pull off a very fair testing procedure that everybody knows is dead even, and then we have to get all this done in a 4-day period of time on a large rented piece of real estate, regardless of weather.
All through the year we get cars here and there from manufacturers who loan us the car for the week, but here there's everything. It's kind of like, it's better than the best buffet you've ever been to. It's you come here and everything's available. It's like a big dessert table, and you get to choose pretty much what you want to drive. You are put into categories, but you also get a bit of time to drive the cars you really want to drive and test and evaluate. It's an important event. I mean, there's a lot of prestige that comes with Car of the Year or winning a category, because you are competing against other manufacturers in the same category. So, and the auto writers are the kind of people that know what makes a good car, what makes a bad car. So if they say, yeah, this is a good one, then it means a lot for the manufacturer.
Anybody can get in and drive a car, and then 6 months later a competitor will come out with something else and they'll get in and drive that car. But to get a really good feel for how they really stack up to one another directly, that only happens a few times a year, and this is one of the most significant events for doing that here in Canada.
Your job is to sell cars. How important is it to win an award or be nominated?
You know, there's a whole lot of factors that customers look at, but one of them is definitely winning awards, and AJAC has been doing this now for a number of years in Canada, and people are recognizing the nature of this event, the importance of it. So, you know, we're here to win, and we put our best foot forward, and yeah, we'd love to be there.
Would you want Bobby Orr to teach your kids how to skate? Maybe not. More later on Kenzie's Corner.
On this edition of Test Drive, we take a look at the son of Murano. This is the Nissan Rogue, a vehicle the company's describing as the first urban crossover. The 2008 Nissan Rogue is an attractive vehicle made all the more so by its dynamic demeanour. Now it all starts under the hood. The 2.8-litre 16-valve 4 is a smooth operator that churns out 170 horsepower and 175 pound-feet of torque. This is enough to get the Rogue from rest to 100k in 8.7 seconds, which is pretty fast for the category. The fact it's only motivating 1,585 kilograms of leather-lined luxury helps matters enormously. This new Rogue comes with a CVT. Now, under normal circumstances, I hate these gearboxes because the instant you get on the gas, it revs the engine up to redline and there it stays in one long, monotonous drone. Now, this vehicle has got a saving grace. Paddle shifters on the steering wheel. That means it's got a manual mode. So now when you accelerate, you can actually change gear. That breaks up the monotony, making the transmission entirely palatable. One of the Rogue's most likeable attributes is its intuitive all-wheel drive system. Unlike the brainless slip-first grip-bladed designs, this one is actually proactive. Accelerating from a standstill splits the power evenly front to rear. Once up to speed, the system relaxes the split and drives the front wheels. Between the extremes, it divvies up the power in a seamless manner. The other advantage is the standard traction and electronic stability control system. Should wheel spin surface, it's dealt quickly with by these electronic overseers. As a combination, it is a good one. The interior of this Rogue is very different from Nissan interiors of just a couple of years ago. If you remember the Altima, well, the first go-round was a disaster. This one, on the other hand, very nice indeed. Soft touch materials on the dash. There's also a red colour in the perforations on these leather seats. That gives them a very pleasant red hue. Everything is hunky-dory with but two minor drawbacks. First of all, there's a gauge buried between the two main dials. It is just too busy and too complicated to pick up a single bit of information at just a quick glance. The other problem, right here. Now, whilst this seat does allow you to carry an 8-foot ladder in the cabin with the tailgate shut, which is a good thing, the problem, the material. It's a soft back. The first time you put a ladder on here, it's going to tear it. If they covered this in a hard plastic, you could actually use this the way it was intended to be used. Riding on front struts and multiple rear links, the Rogue brings a good balance between ride comfort and handling. On rough roads, the imperfections are cushioned admirably, yet when pressed through the pylons, the suspension manages to control the body roll very well. There is some initial lean, but once the system takes a set, it stays put. The all-wheel drive system also does a good job of limiting understeer, which gives the Rogue a balanced feel even when pushed. The large 225 60R17 tyres and a connected steering contribute to the overall dynamics enormously. At the back end, this Rogue is a mixture of good and bad. On the one hand, plenty of space, 60/40 split folding rear seats, a privacy cover. That keeps prying eyes off the valuables you keep in the back here. Plus there's one pleasant surprise. Pop that button, up comes a bunch of separators. That keeps your grocery bags in one spot. They don't slide back that way and you don't end up chasing the orange around the cabin. The drawback, this window looks like it should open. It doesn't. The problem, this great big seam down here. Every time you use the wiper, everything that's on the screen gets washed down and it fills this gap up. It makes the back end of the car look needlessly ugly. The Rogue earns four-wheel discs and standard anti-lock. Several back-to-back stops yield little fade and an average stopping distance of 40.6 metres from 100k. The rest of the safety equation is also in place. Along with dual-stage front airbags come side seat-mounted bags and drop-down side curtains. Tyre pressure monitoring is also standard fare. This new Rogue is a decidedly decent little vehicle. It's comfortable, it's got plenty of power, it's got the desired versatility, and it's also pretty good off-road, even though its primary focus is as an on-road vehicle. Now, the one thing that really does make a big difference, the manual mode for the CVT. Without the manual mode, I could not live with this car. With it, I most certainly can.
Closed captioning of Motoring 2008 is brought to you in part by Pontiac. Pontiac, ignite the feeling.
You know, one of my favorite vehicles this year, without a doubt, is the Audi R8. Incredible machine and so much fun to drive. But here at the AJAC Test Fest, I got my first drive behind the wheel of the Audi S5, a car that simply blew me away, and it's half the price of the R8. All right, now let's head to the Quaker State Garage and join Bill Gardner.
Hey Brad, I know you've got one of pretty much everything that's new at it, the AJAC Test Fest, but I'll bet you don't have a vehicle that's got 3 wiper blades. Because to the best of my knowledge, there is only one, and it's not new this year, so you gearheads that are watching can try and guess what that vehicle is. We'll tell you at the end of this segment what it really is. But anyhow, it serves well as our test mule here for what we want to talk about this week, and that is we've got an email from a longtime viewer, James Clark, and he says that a number of years ago I gave a tip on windshield washer antifreeze. He really liked it, used it, but he's forgotten it or lost it, whatever, and he wants to review that. So we've given a lot of tips over the years on visibility, wiper blades, and washer fluid, etc. So we'll review as many of them as we can here, because I think it's really good in that, you know, by gaining maybe an extra second or two of reaction time through better visibility, we've got a much safer vehicle and a much safer driving experience, and that's what he's all about. He says he's so cheesed off with not being able to get the washer fluid up onto the windshield and get that windshield cleaned properly. So first of all, first and foremost, start with good quality wiper blades. If you've got an older vehicle, you might want to replace the entire blade. Some vehicles have a replaceable filler strip, rubber strip here that can be changed every year or so when it gets worn out or dried, cracked, etc. Also, using premium quality washer fluid is a huge step to better visibility. Now, I happen to prefer Rain-X deicer fluid, but there's other premium brands out there as well. The bottom line is, the more you pay for that washer fluid, the better performance you get. And those premium fluids, you'll find you can squirt them up onto the windshield with the windshield stone cold, and they won't slush up and ice up. They'll actually melt a thin layer of frost or ice off that windshield even before you get any defrost heat to the windshield. The cheaper fluids won't do that. They'll congeal, freeze up, ice up, and you'll have a real mess if you spray them before the windshield's warm. Also, great tip for keeping these jets cleaned out, whether the jets are here on the hood as they are in this particular vehicle or up here in the wiper arm. Tag wire. The tag wire that you get with a shipping tag, you know, you find these in the garbage or pretty much anywhere where parts or components are located. That tag wire is the best stuff in the world for cleaning out those jets. Now, you can use compressed air too. Shops do that, but if you use too much compressed air, you're not careful, you'll blow the hoses off. So this tag wire is definitely the best thing. Also, using a product like Rain-X on the glass surfaces is a great idea too, because it seals up all the micropores in the glass and it makes any precipitation get off that windshield just with the air pressure of driving the vehicle. Doesn't matter whether it's rain, sleet, snow, slush, whatever. As soon as that vehicle starts going, it just slides right off the windshield. So that's another good tip. Another thing you can do too is make sure that glass is really good and clean inside and out, because if the glass is dirty on the inside, it will have an affinity for moisture and it'll tend to cloud up and hamper your visibility. So keep that glass clean. You can use that same glass cleaner or full strength washer fluid on a clean cloth, and you can clean off the wiping edge of your blade. That's another good tip. And we gave a tip several years ago about pulling the blades up off the windshield in the wintertime if you're expecting freezing rain or snow. That's another great tip. But as I said earlier, anything that improves your visibility is well worth the effort and the extra money. So make sure you go through your vehicle. Oh yeah, and the vehicle with the 3 wiper blades, what is it, boys? It's the Toyota FJ Cruiser. There you go. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2008.
Without a doubt, the biggest fan of pickup trucks I've ever met is our own Bill Gardner. But a close second could be auto journalist Howard Elmer. In fact, he loves trucks so much that he and his family last year organized the first Canadian Truck Challenge, in which they took all the trucks and put them head-to-head in real-life situations. Well, it was such a big success, Howard decided to do it again.
Yeah, no springs in that, is there? No. But like I was saying before, this is the one thing that I do like about liners, that you can just, and you got nothing to worry about. People were running around in empty pickup trucks and then doing reviews and saying, oh, this is a really good vehicle. They didn't load them, they didn't tow with them, they didn't take them off-road, they didn't put equipment in them. They didn't see whether or not the truck was doing its job. And after all, a truck is a tool. So enough of that went on long enough, and I tend to write mostly about trucks, that I decided I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it my way. We have 23 pickup trucks on site from all the major manufacturers. The only person who's not here this year is Honda. It comes out to 90 degrees. Yeah. So you can actually get stuff in here. I don't know. We have 8 judges from across the country who are sitting down, pooling their knowledge and trying to decide which of these is the best value for the consumer. Each of the judges comes in and drives every one of those trucks. So they've driven 23 trucks empty, and then they drive 23 trucks loaded. And then we tow with those trucks. So we're trying to do everything the way that people who buy these vehicles would do it.
This is a completely private event. Manufacturers are involved in the only way that they provide the vehicles. They provide the information. Manufacturers came as observers. They do not direct the show at all, if we can call it a show. They do not direct it at all. And that's what makes it, I believe, very credible.
Some media actually are coming up to me and saying, Christine, this is great, but maybe you could be doing the interior that way, or you can add a specific option on the vehicle. So it's a good feedback to take back to the team.
My role is kind of twofold here. One, in case one of the judges do have a question that wasn't provided in the technical information, I can get them an answer. But also, I wanted to see how the vehicles compete, what the competition is doing, so it can better equip me as a spokesperson for where our strengths and weaknesses are.
Guys who lose aren't happy, but the guys who win are very happy, because they know that the consumers who are going to watch this or going to read about it are going to go say, hey, those guys are just like me. It's not some figurehead from a car company who's telling you that this is the best truck ever. If we tell you that that's what we think, then at least you're getting an honest opinion. You still got to make up your own mind, but you're getting it from a bunch of guys who do this for a living.
Now, you don't have to be a great athlete to be a great coach, or even a great musician to be a great music teacher. But you'd like to think that the guy who's going to teach you how to drive knows how to drive. But according to the Ontario Government Auditor General, that's not necessarily the case. They did a study of hundreds and hundreds of driver trainers in this province, and it turns out lots of them have pretty lousy driving records. They got speeding tickets, they got no seatbelt tickets, all sorts of crazy stuff, 6, 8, 10, 12 demerit points. Some of these guys probably shouldn't have a license to drive, let alone a license to teach. What's more, some of the schools they looked at, they would order like 1,000 graduating certificates, but they had the capacity to train maybe 200 people a year. Well, what are they doing with these graduating certificates? Well, it turns out you don't actually have to take the training. You just pay them the money, they give the certificate, off you go. No wonder that same Auditor General's report found that people who take driver training have more crashes than people that don't. They're the ones that are buying the graduating certificates. That's why. Now, there are good driver training programs in this country. We have some of the best in the world, as a matter of fact. My kids all went through Young Drivers of Canada, and even though Peter Christensen continues to teach people to adjust their mirrors incorrectly, I'm still working on you, Peter. The program is really, really good. My kids are very good drivers. But the Auditor General seems to be implying that we'd be better off without driver training. Well, you know, we could probably apply that to other areas too. Why do brain surgeons have to go to school? I mean, that's just a lot of wasted time. How about airline pilots? Why don't we just give them a copy of Microsoft Flight Simulator and off they go? No, folks, you do want to teach your kids how to drive with a professional instructor. But what this report is telling you, be very, very careful of who you give your money to. I'm Jim Kenzie.
You know, we've seen lots of journalists testing vehicles this week, but the big one is still yet to come when we present our annual Car of the Year special as we select the best in class for 2008. And once again, you can contribute. So go to www.motoringtv.com or link to us through tsn.ca. Select all your segment winners as well as your overall Car of the Year, and we'll announce them when we have our Car of the Year special. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
It ain't for me. It ain't for me. I have some serious problems with it. Number one, and I don't care how this sounds, it ain't manly enough for me. This is just a very effeminate car. That's fine if that's what you want, but it's not for me. Good on gas, it'll get the rebate, probably $2,000 rebate, but it does what it's supposed to do. If you live in the city and you don't care about what your image is, absolutely.
Motoring 2008 on TSN has been brought to you by the new Q horsepower from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. And Michelin, a better way forward.